There's a man named Jacob Ochola Mwai who is claiming to be the late President Mwai Kibaki's son.
If someone emerges tomorrow and come and says, "You're my father," now just imagine that scenario.
Thank you so much, ladies and gents. KIKAO Africa, Africa's leading talk platform. On today's episode, we shall be having a reaction video made in regards to something that came out and has been trending for a few days. Our guest today is a man well known to me and soon shall be well known to you. Mr. James Kaggia is also my dad. Thanks, Dad, and welcome to KIKAO Africa.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yes.
This has been a long time in the making. It has been a long time in the making.
Yeah.
We've always said we are going to make content. The idea looked good on paper to me. Of our father and son conversations. I feel there's so much we can speak on. But we've tried making content before and we have had people in our lives who we felt had so much good to say. And we kept on planning to capture it. And these people left this earth and we never even got to do it. So time is of the essence in terms of making content. So I feel that you have a lot of value to put out there. I'm so grateful that you've had this sit down with us. There's a video you sent me the other day. The video by a man called Jacob Ochola Mwai.
Yes, I do remember that video. Someone sent it to me. And I listened to it, I watched it, and I thought it was interesting. And that's why I shared with you.
Yes. And then the idea came to me for us to make a reaction video as a start point to the video series that we are doing. So I watched the video. Just as a brief profile for maybe people who did not watch the video, there's a man named Jacob Ochola Mwai who is claiming to be the late President Mwai Kibaki's son, firstborn son, and quite an articulate man. Has a good mind for details. He's a career hotel manager, and there's a lot of politics around him being the president's son, and there's a lot of issues of politics and money and so on and so forth. But in the comments, people say that the claim looks legitimate. What are your thoughts on the man's claims? What are your thoughts on the man himself? And the things that come about as a result of that? In the comments, a lot of people seem to be talking about identity and the pain of not being able to be with one's father, or the pain of being denied by a father, or those kind of things. So what do you have to say about all this?
That is interesting. I did not know that it has attracted a lot of attention.
It's a trending video.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I watched it. Of course, right from the onset, I'm in no position to make judgment about the claim.
Yes.
But listening to him and the journey he has walked and the effort he has made, when the father he's claiming was still alive, he sounds genuine to me.
Okay.
I mean, because it's not just a claim he's raising now. I'm not passing judgment because I have no authority, no mandate.
Yes.
But listening to him,
your take.
I empathized with him.
Okay.
I saw a man who has been struggling to find identity. Wanting to connect
with his
father, with a biological father.
Yes.
All along he thought he was Luo.
Until he was 22.
Until he was 22.
He grew up speaking Luo, believing he was of Luo heritage.
Exactly.
Yes.
Until time came and when he knew differently.
Yes.
And he started making deliberate effort to connect. Yeah?
Yes.
Because I think I had him talking about making different approaches.
Yes.
To access
the father.
To access the father.
Yeah, and he calls him daddy.
And he called him daddy.
And he calls his adopted dad father.
Exactly.
And so it seems the emotional bond is with this man who he never even really got to spend so much time with. And it speaks to a lot because Obama's book also had a lot about this.
Fine. So that I empathized with him. And I said, if this is really the story, I feel for him. Because he is craving, there is an innate need to connect with the biological father. And he's not unique. Yeah, in this situation.
You think it's a common story?
It's a common story.
Only that he's
Only
popular.
that he has found a voice. He has found a voice that many have not found. Yeah, even before you mention Obama. You remember, there is a case, the most recent case I met was a 17-year-old young man who had been craving to know his father. Yeah? And when the pressure was too much and the mother wanted to look for the father, unfortunately, the father had just died. Yeah? And this young man only connected with the father he was craving to find when he was in the coffin. Yeah? That's the only time, that's the time he managed to see him lying dead there. Understand? He stood there, speechless for quite some time, just looking at the father and kind of connecting. This was my father. And it gave him, as much as it was quite tragic, at least it gave him some satisfaction that he had known the father and his family. Yeah? And therefore I'm saying this man then represents so many who are hurting because they have not been able to connect with their biological father. And at this point, before I mention other cases, perhaps you could also mention about Obama, the former president. He is the one again who brought this topic to light when he wrote a book, Dreams from My Father. And as a senator, he flew all the way to Kenya to trace his father and his father's roots. Yeah?
Why?
Because all along, it's not about material. He was okay. But there was a craving, and it's an innate need to connect to the biological father.
So
it's genetic.
It's genetic.
It's genetic, and therefore it's a force. It's an emotional drive that you want to really connect with your biological father.
So in Mr. Ochola Mwai's case, because a lot of there's a voice that says he wants a big inheritance, and that's why he's pushing for this. He doesn't appear to be a man who is hurting financially. Then are you saying that there's a greater drive? This acknowledgement that he's seeking, this public acknowledgement and acknowledgement by the family, what is the reason for this?
The reason for it, already for him, he says he knows this is my father.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is this not enough?
But it's not complete until he connects. Yeah. Until he connects and it's accepted for public. Now he's brought it to the public. I am so and so. But the public, of course, it's only him for now who really knows. Yeah. And therefore he still feels there's something missing.
Okay.
He wants to connect even the family, even the siblings, his biological paternal siblings, that this is who I am. I belong to this family. These are my people. He doesn't have to need anything. Like I said, Obama wanted nothing. But just to feel that. And you remember the excitement he had. He shared when he got to JKIA and met a British Airways official, told him, I knew your father. He sees the joy. He was connecting with his people who knew. You see, there's such power. Feeling now you have started connecting with your people. And somebody who knew your father. And then when he met his stepsister again, when he traveled all the way to Kisumu, the emotions, he said, the connection, the feeling that you now belong. This is my name, and the name belongs to these people, and I am part of it. There is that satisfaction that comes. So for him, it's just that validation. I am a Kibaki. Validation. Even in the public eye.
Acceptance.
And that validation, I am a Kibaki.
And because this seems to be then a very deeply rooted human need, let me ask you a question for your take in regards to the issue from a parent's side, not from a child's side. Because from a child's side, of course, you see someone wanting to connect. And the comments on YouTube, a lot of them are people who have lived a similar life where they were not able to be with their fathers. I want to ask you for your thoughts from a parent's side. For example, in the late president's case, maybe there are complexities because of money, political matters and all that. But from a parent's side, why would a father not acknowledge his child? What are the things that cause fathers to not acknowledge children?
I think there could be two ways of looking at it. First, the father, the father, for him, he has no that emotional push drive. There is no innate drive from the father's side to connect with that seed he gave out somewhere there.
So fathers don't have an innate drive,
craving, that drive
of
to
wanting
connect.
to have the child.
But that one,
the child has it.
the child has it to connect with his source. For the child, it is the source, it is origin, it is his root. For the father, something that went out there.
Yes.
And a child was born. And they never connected early.
Yes.
As a child, father-child.
Right.
That relationship was not there.
Right.
For mothers, it starts from the womb.
Yes.
But for fathers, unless you start engaging, you'd have no emotion.
You don't have a drive to do it.
No drive to do it. That is one thing. The other side of that is that you're in a family setup. Nobody has ever known.
Like you had a child.
That you had a child.
And then you married.
And then you married.
And you didn't tell your wife and the family, so it has been under the table, and now you have a family.
And for many men also, there were those casual relationships, hit and run.
Yes.
And you move.
Yes. And they led to the birth of children.
And they led to the birth of children. But now you're in a marriage setup. And this is going to bring disruption. Who is this you're telling us? And there is also that fear that it might trigger, because that means there was another woman somewhere. Right?
It might now shake up the marriage.
It might shake up the marriage. There could be some reconnections. And therefore the wife would not be very keen to embrace a child out there. So usually it's not easy. So the man, of course, is afraid that this is going to disrupt his family. And therefore they wanted to remain there. Right? So the man is protecting himself, and of course protecting any fallout.
He's protecting himself.
He's protecting himself.
Human beings we are self-preserving creatures.
We are self-preserving creatures.
And so it's you start with protecting yourself.
Exactly.
I have a family, there's stability. If bringing this child to the fore means that it comes with complications and chaos in my own marriage, wacha ikae. Later on,
after all, it's not coming to add anything to me.
Right.
So that is generally why it is such a huge problem. So the man may know, but how do I handle this in view of the fact that it's going to disrupt my family?
Yes.
Yet from the child's side, the pain is deep. I remember, not a long story, a young man who had also been struggling, and when the mother told him. He came from all the way from South Africa, where he was working. Traveled to Muranga, found an old man, and he shared his story. He was sharing his pain later. And the man told him, yes, I knew that man, he was my son, but he died 3 months ago. And he took him to the grave. At least the man knew, he knew his roots. At least he had established, I belong to, and I know those people.
Yes.
There is a level of satisfaction, even at that point. So I've seen men travel from very, very far. One young man came all the way from Busia to this place, to my house.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. And he told me, my mother gave me direction to this place. Okay. I said, what do you mean? And told me she used to work here a long time ago. And when she was working here, a relative, a young man also used to come and visit you. And they became friends along the way. And I was born. So he had been asking the mother to tell him. So eventually the mother told him, go to this place, ask for so and so. All the way from Busia. I listened to the story. And I gave him direction to the place where he would find the grandmother, and the father, then who would connect him to the father. And he went. Eventually he connected. I don't know exactly how the reception was, but imagine it to connect with the family, even the other children of his father. Whether the reception was warm or not warm, but at least he connected. That even During the burial of the grandmother now, the newfound grandmother, he was there. And he has been engaging with the other children. And from that point, you could see the satisfaction. He wanted nothing else. But now he can say, I am a son of so-and-so. Yeah, my father is called so-and-so.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
That young man I said of 17 years, now he talks about his father who is dead. But he saw him even that last minute.
He has a father.
He has a father.
Yes.
Precisely.
Yes.
And that craving, that innate emotional drive was satisfied. The other case, just a few, as you just look at the topic, is another man who told me how a woman came to his compound. He's also an elderly man in the 80s. And told him, look, I'm looking for so-and-so. She's a mother herself. She's about 45 towards 50. Yes, so-and-so, what about him? And then she shared her story. You see, she's a mother with several children, big children.
Yes.
I'm looking for him. Why? Because I've been looking for my father. My mother couldn't tell me. But on her deathbed, because she died recently, she told me he was called so-and-so. And they used to live here. So I came inquiring. Unfortunately, again, that father had migrated overseas.
Okay.
And the lady was pleading, just give him this number. Ask him to call me. I'm his daughter. Of course, the man would have nothing to do with it when he was told. Because that was going to disrupt his family.
Of course.
And of course, that woman did not connect. And therefore, there are so many cases I happen to have interacted with.
Yes.
And therefore, I can say the pain is real.
Okay.
The longing for fatherhood, connecting with your biological father.
Yes.
And that then means fathers are critical. They are needed. They play a central role.
Okay. And since you have said that, then we need fathers. What are the consequences of fatherlessness, as far as we see in the behavior of people as they become adults and in society in general? Because we have countries like in the West where we see the father taking more and more of a backseat role. We see the government becoming more of a father figure, for example, in the States. And you see the children born to unmarried women, the numbers also increasing very drastically as the world is more westernized and in those Western countries. So what about fathers is important? And what happens when we don't have fathers?
Perhaps then let's look back a little at the traditional society and see what role the father played. Yeah? Because that's the traditional society, the way it was set. And we could also look at, say, what does the Bible talk about fathers? Yeah?
Okay.
And looking at those authorities. And you see the father in the traditional society played a very crucial role. First, as the head of the family, yeah? As the protector, as the provider, right? And as the role model for his sons. Yeah?
For sons.
For the sons. And of course, the daughters would also learn. They would see how fathers and mothers relate.
Yes.
Yeah. What roles they play, what limitations there are.
The male-female dynamic.
Yeah, all those dynamics. Because life is about modeling largely. You model, you learn. When I grew up, I learned from my father. I watched my father because I grew with him. Yeah. And I modeled, even as we moved into marriage. Of course, we had our challenges because the situation has changed. But we had a model. Yeah. A role model. We had seen him. We had known what does the father do. Yeah. So fathers are critical in shaping the next generation. Shaping the next generation.
Okay.
Teaching children, of course, how to handle situations. Yeah? How to wait for this, how to wait for that. What happens when this and that happens? Yeah? So, and therefore bringing stability. Stability in life.
Okay.
That I grow up as a young man and a man who is ready now to get into family with an idea how family works. Right or wrong. And I've been modeled, have seen.
Yes.
Look, human beings have the longest nurturing period We are not like animals. Animals have a very short period.
Yes.
Because there is not much training.
No.
Everything is instinctive.
Yes. A horse, it's born 10 minutes from now, knows its
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Because they rely on their instincts.
Yes.
For human beings, there is a lot to learn. Yeah? There is a lot
To learn.
to learn.
And this is the coding that is done by the parents.
And this is the coding, because children come into life, of course, very differently, genetically. But then there's the nurturing aspect.
Yes.
And it's a long period. You find children being nurtured by their parents. Yeah? They learn to do, they learn to do, they learn to do. Yeah? Genes, which are general potentials, are activated, so that the child knows what to do. So with the absence of fathers, what do we expect? People really who have no foundation, no basis, even of making decisions. Immediate gratification, I think that one you'd find it.
Immediate gratification.
Because I just want things and I get them.
So
you have not learned.
So that I'm getting you clearly, you're saying that this is, as a consequence of fatherlessness, you see more and more behavior of that type.
Yes,
people who cannot wait.
Who cannot wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is also, researchers say it also leads a lot to increase in discipline. Even homosexuality and many other things that are negative because of that absence of that. Yeah. So you find children then who are just there, they are not grounded. Family values are not very important because they are not instilled. They do not even see the father struggling in several areas and managing and working through situations. So they don't learn.
Problem-solving skills.
Yeah, problem-solving skills.
Okay.
And you find mainly the boys are the ones who are affected. They have no role models.
So father figure is more critical for boys than for girls?
It's more critical for boys than for girls.
Okay.
Girls also need to see a man, how a man relates, right, with a woman. How does the father relate with my wife? What do I expect when I get into marriage? Because they have seen a lot. So it also benefits the girls. But more so when it comes to the boy, it's critical. Who am I? In answering the question, who am I?
Okay.
What did I learn? What did I see? Yeah? What values were instilled? So they say largely that you find something goes missing in society. There is a missing dimension.
Okay.
There is a missing kind of foundation and grounding that is missing. Yeah? And you find many boys who even have an identity crisis. Who am I? Yeah? Who am I? What is the central place of a father? Because they haven't seen it. They haven't seen it. Where do you learn it from?
You have not seen it.
You have not seen it.
You can't know.
You can't know. And there are no books to tell you. I mean, that would be theory.
Okay. So you go ahead and become a father, and then what happens?
You either become also an absent father because you have no idea what role a father should be playing here.
Okay.
Yeah? So we are saying a father should be available. Yeah? Both physically and emotionally. Connecting with his children. Daughters also need their fathers a lot. They need their fathers and they connect very well with their fathers. And he teaches them a lot of things. Yeah? And even when it comes now to their own situation, getting into marriage and what have you, they have an idea. They have seen first their father treat the mother when possible. Yeah? And treat them as children, as daughters, as girls. And what is the difference between them and the boys? Sindio?
Yes.
So I think you cannot, when fatherhood loses its place, you don't expect stable societies.
Okay.
He is a pillar, a major pillar. Yeah? So when he misses, certainly something will go wrong.
Okay.
I don't know what is the experience in the Western world. Perhaps you're more exposed.
Okay, yes, I've been to the States severally and some of these other Western countries. Of course, what the common narrative is that Families are run by women. I would say that. Families are run by women and supported by the government. And this may be my opinion, but there appears to be a hostility towards... it's difficult to be a man in America, to be a strong man in America. Let me say that. So, I mean, because a country like ours, Kenya, also adopts Western philosophy and ideas so quickly, we have a lot of what they have as their normal now becoming our normal. And whether it works or not is the question. So my question would be in regards to what you have said. In a world where we increasingly see women being financially empowered, and when people are empowered, they don't have to tolerate certain things. So in a world where women are more and more capable to live their own way without needing a man to shield them from the dangers of the world and things like that, and they have children, we now have a very large population of children raised by mothers only. And the mothers would make a case that to them, everything is okay. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Because my question then, what will happen to these men? Yeah? This boy child
Who has been raised by
who has just been raised totally by a woman, has not seen a man playing any role at all, right? Even a close uncle, yeah? He has not seen. And he becomes an adult. How does he handle it from there? We talked about the nurturing period, that human beings, we have a long learning period. Yeah?
When you're building
we see
the
role
behavior
models, you are building the behavior.
that you'll take through your adult life.
Exactly.
And now you've grown up and you have not seen a male figure, so you don't know how to be one. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right. Because they say by the time we get to our 12 years, or by the time we get to our teenage, we already have developed a paradigm.
Of how the world
where
is.
paradigm now says like a pair of glasses through which you look at yourself and the world.
Yes.
Who am I? Right? Home is critical because it gives you identity.
Yes.
How do I view myself? Who am I? And how do I see the world? It all comes from, it can come from nowhere else.
Yes.
No school can teach you how to view yourself and how to view your world.
Yes.
This has to come from home.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
The things you see, the things you learn, the things you're told. So as you get into adulthood, you already have a picture. This is who I am as a boy, as a man.
This is who I am as a man.
This is the who I am.
But the context has been feminine.
So the context has been feminine.
The way you have grown up.
The way you've grown up. So how do you learn to become a man? How do you learn to handle a woman?
Please tell us, because I'm sure that in this video, a lot of women will say, now the children are here and the fathers are bogus. Or whatever the reason may be that they are not together. We have the children here, we are watched tutafanya nini.
Yeah, tutafanya nini. And you rightly say there has been a shift in society. Women becoming more empowered, right?
Yes.
And it's a tragedy that needs to be, I don't know how it's going to be worked out.
What part
Because
is the
look
tragedy?
at it.
What part is the tragedy?
That the man is losing his place. Because when he loses his place, you don't expect the society to function very well. The women, yes, may have the money, and which is okay, but you see that's not all. The man still is needed, right? To play his role and for the children to see him, especially the boy child,
Yes.
as the father. Yeah?
Yes.
So, our traditional societies are not foolish. They place the man there. Of course, he owned all the resources. He owned everything, right? And he's the one who was calling the shots.
And this has been how human beings existed until very recently.
This is how human beings existed from the beginning.
Until very recently.
Until very recently.
Yes.
And therefore, we can say that is God's order. Because God instituted marriages, the families, right? And look at all the cultures of the world. Yeah? If there are exceptions, I don't know. But the man has been the one in charge.
in the older
the
world,
authority figure in the older world.
Protecting us, say, from wild animals. So 100 years ago,
Exactly.
you needed a
You
man.
needed a man to protect.
Physically, you needed a man. Now you don't.
Now you don't.
Yes.
But still that position, that position that God instituted, that position still needs to remain there.
Okay.
That there is a hierarchy. I mean, why do we have hierarchies everywhere? In the business world, I mean, there has to be a head.
Because of order.
There has to be order.
Yeah,
Society,
order.
there has to be order.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
As growing up, when our mothers couldn't discipline us or we had done something, we were handed over to our father. He is the disciplinarian.
If mom can't deal with it,
there is a hierarchy.
Yes.
Yeah? And the father would deal with you. Right? So that hierarchy has been there. Of course, in the tradition society, man's ego was boosted by the culture elevated him as the head. Yeah?
Regardless.
Now, there has been a shift. Right? And that's what happened in developed world, in America.
Yes.
Yeah? With the industrial revolution.
World War II.
The civil wars that were fought.
Men went to fight.
We
got into the industrial era.
Women.
You have factories, you don't have labor. Women became the labor force. Yes.
And soon enough, with the education growing, women discovered they could do better than men.
Yes.
In many areas.
Yes.
They could even make more money.
Yes.
In school, in colleges, they could do better.
They're less chaotic than men.
Men.
They just naturally they would do better at formal education than boys.
Exactly.
Yes.
And society, I think it's been observed. The man, when he was in charge, I think became oppressive. Yeah.
Over cycles of time, you'd say that you can observe that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, because the authoritarian. I am the man, whatever I do, So when women, I think, were empowered and they realized they can do better than these guys. We can handle money better than these guys. And that is where we are now, even in our situation.
Where?
It's easy, even in Kenya. It's easy for a woman to get a loan than a man because they have been found to be better money managers. Than men. Whatever money they make, they really hold it.
Yes.
Whereas sometimes it's not so with men.
Okay.
And therefore banks are even giving money, we are said to be giving women money more easily
than they give men.
Because
women are better stewards of money.
They are better stewards.
Yes.
And the bank is assured money they have lent to a woman will come back.
Okay. So from what you're saying, then as men have become less and less the controllers of resource, and as the world has required less and less physical protection from the elements, from nature, from animals, from whatever, we have reduced the value of men as they have become less relevant for physical protection and for money.
Exactly.
But you are saying that they still have a crucial role regardless.
They still have a crucial role. They still have, for society to function normally, and for the next generations to be normal, and to find their place. That order needs to be maintained. The man has to maintain his place.
The man has to maintain his place.
He has to maintain his place.
Yes.
Yeah.
In what context? Because of where we are now.
Now this is the challenge. Yeah. Because you're in a situation where it's about resources. Yeah. It's about who provides. It's about who does. It's about all this. And now that we have to really there has to be a paradigm shift.
And this is what we want you to, we would like to hear your thoughts on that.
There has to be a paradigm shift. And without culture, you see, we have already said culture is gone in many places.
Traditional culture.
Traditional culture.
We are in the
world of in a very fluid state of individualism.
This is the world we are in now. Everybody has a voice.
Everybody has a voice.
Everybody has a right to do as they will. Yes, that is Western civilization, I would say right now. Kila mtu akona sauti, kila mtu afanye vile anataka. Yes.
And I think I was reading another book by a girl called Emotional Intelligence.
Yes.
saying in absence of culture, people really have to ask themselves, who are we and what we want? Okay. And how do we interdepend? How do we make this thing work? Yeah? But people can only do that when they recognize that there is a need for that hierarchy.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
When they recognize that the man has his place for the stability of the family and the children. Mainly, we must think about the children. How do we relate? How do I relate with my wife? Yeah? So for the sake of these children, so that this generation we are bringing up, at least they will have an idea what life is all about. Right?
Yes.
They will find their place. They will not find themselves fluid, lost in the world.
Yes. There is a system.
There is a system. Because without system, how does life work? How do things work?
And now we've transited from the traditional African system.
Yeah,
culture.
it was a system.
Yes, and then we came to the Western religion as a main culture. So we have Christianity, we have Islam. Those are what primarily have been culture after the traditional culture.
Exactly.
But now we have this individualism.
So I wanted to come back there. Because in absence of culture, religion then comes in.
Religion.
As a cultural system. First we talk about religion, generally.
Comes in as a cultural system.
Because a cultural system has a set of values and beliefs. Yeah? Functions on values and beliefs.
Yes.
Which we submit to. Yeah? My wife is submit to the same values and beliefs. Yeah? And most religions then again would say this is the role of a man. This is the role of the wife. This is how children should behave. And to that extent then, religion takes that place of the traditional culture that was lost. Yeah? Because you get yourself into a system. And so long as the two submit to these values and beliefs, they have some commonality. Right?
Because we are all reading from the same script.
Because we are all reading from the same script. Right? Look at the Bible. That's the one I know what it says. Yeah? It says the father is the head of the family. Right? And he's told how to relate with his wife. And the children are told how to relate. Right? And therefore, if they all submit to that, then you have stability. You have stability. And most of other religions also have that kind of a thing.
Yes.
Now, in absence then of religion, yeah? From now I'm talking as a Christian from that perspective.
Yes.
In absence of religion, where do we find our commonality? Look, we come from different homes. I saw it like this. Maybe I grew up, I saw certain things and I thought those were the normal. Right? My wife grew up in a different place, saw different things, and that was the normal. Now you've come together. What holds you together?
It can't be what I think or what she thinks. It has to be the cultural system.
Exactly, because if it's what I think and what you think, then you are in a very awkward situation.
There's no right or wrong.
There is no right or wrong. And then that's why we start fighting. Because me, what I think is right is right. And you, what you think is right?
Is right.
Is right. So we'll have to find out where we lost it. Where the society has lost it.
A system.
A system.
A cultural system.
Because any marriage, even a family, is a system. I've found men, I've met men saying who seem to have lost their place in that small family system. Yeah? A system, things move in a certain way. Each person has their own part. Right? If you step out of that system, nature hates vacuum. And many men have found themselves misplaced. Yeah? Some, they completely got engaged in work. The family lives away. Yeah? So the guy goes very, very occasionally, just briefly, gives them the money, everything they need, and goes back to work. Along the way, things change. Yeah? His position is lost because people learn to function without him. Then suddenly he retires and he goes home.
Which home?
The one he calls home,
Yeah.
where his wife and the children have lived.
But the system.
And he tries to
eliminated
find
him.
relevance and finds the hole he used to occupy, if it was square,
He's not round.
is now round.
He doesn't belong.
He doesn't belong because nature, and that will take us back to the question: why were men displaced? We said first they went, if it's America, they went to war, Industrial Revolution. Naturally, they got displaced. And women started finding they could do it without them. Now, how do they come back? The society changed, right?
Yes.
So we are in a dilemma, we must admit. Without religious values, right? Without religious values, society is fragmenting. Without culture, without religious values, and we said here we were defining religion as a cultural system.
Yes.
It can fit that definition
Yes.
because it has values and beliefs.
And now you see a fragmentation.
Now, without that, without the tradition, society, culture, without religion holding us together, what else do we have?
In traditional societies, rather over time when we read books that tell us about, since we started to record things until now, whenever you see a people ceasing to have a religion for long enough, eventually it becomes a chaotic society. Yes.
When you see?
When you see a group of people not having a religion for long enough, the society falls into chaos.
The society falls into chaos.
The Romans, the Greeks, it's
Yes.
all observable.
It's all observable.
Yes, and maybe that's where we are now.
That is where we are.
Yeah.
So we'll have to reinvent ourselves. We will have to ask ourselves what has gone wrong. Because it's not for the good of the society. It's not for the stability of the society. It's not for the mental well-being, sanity of these two, of the family. Say it if it's a married now, the couple. The fragmentation is not healthy for any of them.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. But now, because we are in the age of individualism, I would rather do without you than try to fix things with you. That appears to be.
But we still need each other.
We need each other.
Women need men and men need women.
But modern society argues against that. That's the problem now.
And what is the argument?
When we say that, well, let's say I had a child with this guy, me and this guy, we didn't agree. I'm apart from this guy. I make my own money. I don't need to talk to this guy. And the law also now favors ladies in these kind of things. So it's almost as though there is kind of motivation to not need to fix things.
To not need to work out things.
Yeah. So society now continues to move in that direction, and it becomes the normal, as you have said.
But is it healthy? Is it the right way to go? Is it good for the parties involved?
Me, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. But some people will make the case for saying, you know what, I have a bad father. Or a lady will say, this guy was not good for us. In traditional society, you could not even address these issues.
No.
Now you can.
Now you can.
Yeah. So what is the way? Where are we going?
It sounds very... it's very challenging because that's why we are having the problems. First, we must admit that's why we are having the problems you're having.
You've said we are in a crisis.
We are in a crisis.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And of course, for me, from where I stand, anything out short of, because we cannot reinvent our traditional cultures. They are gone.
They're gone.
They are gone.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
With our education, having entered the money world, individualism, that is gone.
Okay.
But we need to be more intelligent enough to understand the implications of where we are.
Okay.
And therefore to have a desire to work on it. Yeah? To realize that family is an institution designed by God because He knew we needed family. After all, we all come from a family, right? We were all nurtured in a family, however it was.
Yes, you came through a woman and a man
through
to this
a
earth.
woman and a man.
Yes.
And that's the way it was meant to be. And that union is what was meant to nurture us into adulthood.
That's the natural system.
That is the natural system, which is now fragmented. Right? And looking at where we started about Jacob, and we have talked about so many people who are hurting. Yeah? He's a voice representing so many people
Yes.
who are hurting. Why? Because they grew up in a situation that was not normal. Right? Because they have a right in God's sight to grow up in an environment where they see both. You see, in the traditional society, if a woman was widowed, right, the man died early, somebody in the family had to step in.
Yes.
No. So that even these children will grow up with this as a father. Yeah?
Yes.
And if that's not possible, of course, there were uncles and aunties all around.
But there was always...
There was never a vacuum.
Yes. The
And
male figure was always present one way or another.
Exactly. So people are socialized. Male figure was always present.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
And I think that's why even in some societies you found wife inheritance.
Yes.
Because now this lady has been left alone. She has children and what have you. She couldn't go out of that community.
Oh, but when we had a wife inheritance, when I heard about it as a child, the context was, the first time I ever heard of it was because of HIV campaigns, and they were saying this is one of the contributors.
Yeah.
But
You see,
the context was like a very primitive thing. But now when you talk about it, I see the social function of wife inheritance.
Exactly, the social function.
Yes.
It was to preserve society,
Right.
to preserve families, because these people were wise enough. Yeah, they saw the big picture. It's not just about me and what have you. There's a bigger picture here of this family who are the future generations. How are they growing? What do they see? So fatherlessness was never experienced,
Yeah.
even when the man died.
Yeah. So
Right?
this is a new problem.
It's a new problem. It's a new problem. Yeah? So unless then, in absence of that, we embrace religion
As our new culture.
as our new culture.
Because individualism is chaos.
Individualism is chaos. Complete chaos.
And we cannot go back to our traditional
And we
systems.
cannot-
You've said those are gone because of our schooling and everything.
Yeah, those are gone.
So religion is
We
what
consider
we
it primitive sometimes, you know, but they knew what they were doing. Yeah? They had their do's and don'ts. They had limits, what you could not do. Look, these are the societies we are talking about. Like now in the traditional Kikuyu society, if a boy or a man touched a girl, they're not married. Yeah? Because they'd go for parties and what have you. If you touched her, she belonged to you.
If she gets pregnant, she's my wife.
She is your wife.
Automatically.
And not even that, even if before she got pregnant, because people are supposed to take care of themselves.
Yes.
If you got her and slept with her,
Yes.
she won't go back home.
Okay.
She's yours.
Okay.
She wanted me, I'm yours.
Yes.
Naturally.
It can't be casual.
It can't be casual. Right? And therefore you did not have the problems
That we have now.
that we have now.
Because there was a system.
You touch, she's yours.
So if you don't want her to be yours, don't touch.
Don't touch her. Wait, you get yours.
Yeah.
Because the one you'll touch
Yeah.
will be yours.
And now we replace this, in your view, with the religions of today. So that will serve as our replacement. And the values of the religions become the things that we hold as our beliefs.
Yes. Because like now, talking from that, if I talk about Christianity, which is the one I know, and the Bible says don't. Yeah, don't commit adultery. Do not fornicate if it's young people. Do not do.
Yes.
It elevates the father. And the father is also instructed on how to treat the wife and the children. And if we submit all to that, tell me why we should fail if we're all serious. Yeah? Because I take my place of authority as the head. And even if I don't have the resources, if I have less resources than the woman, and the woman is instructed to submit to me, and we can sit and look at the money and treat it as our money, Because look, if we are living in a normal situation, why do I need extra money if I'm not going out there to play around? Yeah? It doesn't matter who has more money because you bring it here.
The money
It belongs to us.
Yes.
This is what the family needs. This is what I view. This is what we need to do.
Because we are married and we both ascribe to this religion, and this religion says that this is how we do our things, and we both agree to that.
Yes, I'm not going to have some secret
funds
because I want to entertain a secret person out there. Yeah? And therefore, money issues will not be a big issue. We will not fight over the money because we can sit and work it out. And if both have the interest of the family, why shouldn't we agree? Right?
Yes.
Because there are several approaches when it comes even now to that relationship that causes problem. You find aggression. One person is aggressive, the other one is passive. Then marriage is not healthy. Yeah? But until we get to a point, and again, Christianity helps us to get there, right? Where we submit and we love, and therefore we can apply assertiveness, where I am free to share my thoughts and my ideas without any judgment, and the other person is free to bring in their point of view, and we discuss them, right? That is a stable marriage, right? We can discuss money. So it doesn't matter who has more than who, right? The man will not feel threatened.
Because the money is for the family.
The money is for the family. And he's working for the interest of the family. And he's bringing his ideas. Because whether you like it or not, we can't go back. Some women will earn more than the men.
Yes.
They are more business-minded than the men. So,
what to do?
We need to be more intelligent. How do we handle this?
Yeah.
Should it be a threat? Yeah? So, this is where we are. But we really need to brainstorm and ask ourselves, how do we move from here? Because we have agreed.
We have agreed that man
without society, without culture, right?
Yes.
Without religious values,
yes,
we are in a very fluid state.
Yes, and it leads to chaos.
It leads to chaos.
As history has shown us.
As history has shown us.
In regards to the video that we started off our own thing with, then we can assume from what you've said that man is an irreplaceable cornerstone of the family and hence the society. But we are in a time when the place of the man is very uncertain.
It's very uncertain. It is historical. Yes, we can look back and see how he got displaced.
How he got to where he is.
How he got to where he is.
But here we are now, and it's different circumstances. So over the short term, because mass adoption of religion, these are things that take time. Over the short term, to all the Jacobs out there who don't have the voice and the ability to tell their story, to all the people who are out there who have had difficult relationships or non-existent relationships with their fathers, to all the women who may feel they're protecting their children from bad things by keeping them away from their fathers, what would you say in terms of fatherlessness and the state of where we are now to the people who are hurting, to the people who are commenting on Jacob's video?
To the people who are hurting?
Yes.
I want to make a plea. I have listened to many cases. I empathize with them. I have seen the pain. I have seen what they go through. I have listened to them. Yeah? And I've seen the fulfillment that comes when they're able to connect. Right? Not for anything else. Not for material gain. But just to establish your root. Right? And therefore plead with the fathers who are out there. And they know they have a child out there. They be born before marriage. Right? I would ask men, I would plead with men to really open the doors for their children, for those who are looking for them,
regardless of the social complications.
I would also appeal to the wives, right? These are the most important people. That if your man has a child out there, of course, men are afraid of opening up, right? They fear the complications it would bring to the family.
When these children come.
Look at me. Here I am. You know me the way you've known me all along. If someone emerges tomorrow and come and says, "You're my father," Now, just imagine that scenario.
For me, what would surprise me is if I didn't know this about him all this time, do I really know this guy?
Do I really know this guy?
If you told me about it long time,
Yeah.
that would be different.
So this is a scenario.
Yeah.
But of course, men have not opened up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there were those at the moment. Yeah?
Yes.
The hit and run and all that.
Yes.
So that's even the wives. If the man has a child out there, because they're children, there are people who are hurting. They are not children, they are mature men and women.
They're hurting.
And all they need is a connection, a recognition. To say I belong. I know my father. Yeah? I know my biological father. My prayer is, I pray that the God would give the women the grace to open up, to accept it. It's very complicated, especially when the children are young. Because the fear is it might open the doors. You know, there was a relationship between the two for the child to be born.
Yes.
So anything that can trigger that, any interaction. And that's why generally it works best when the child is big enough, old enough, that you can tell him that's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go tell him me as your mother have told you ABCD.
Yes.
Like the one who sent his son all the way from Busia. Go to this home and tell them ABCD.
Yeah. But
Because
in the meanwhile,
there is no complication.
there's no complication, but in the meanwhile, the child grew without the necessary
I know
coding.
it's a very challenging situation because earlier years it's more complicated because the other woman will have to feature somewhere. And sometimes also that woman is married. Yeah?
Yeah.
That woman is married. But that child knows. Yeah? Like that Jacob
Yes.
came to know in adulthood
Yes.
that my father is that guy.
Yes.
This is my foster father. But my dad is that one.
So in order of importance, if you have to like give them that in order of importance, would you say then the children's well-being or the preservation of these marriages and these families?
You see,
If a man came to you and told you, I want you to advise me, I feel like if I go to my wife with this issue, it will cause serious problems and break me up, but I want my child to grow up well, and I have to make a choice.
you see now here the man has no choice, has very little choice. Unfortunately,
Between acknowledging the child publicly
because he has a family here, he doesn't want to lose this. Yeah, he doesn't want now to find himself in a battlefield where even the children turn against him. Yeah,
and that's how it goes.
And that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And unless God gives, you see, if the woman accepts it, the children will. If the wife accepts that child,
The children will.
the children will. We will accept him. We will accept her. She is part of us, right? If the mother refuses, then the children cannot, because she's getting hurt by this new thing. So it's about the children are very protective of their mother. But if she opened the door, the children will open the door. This is our brother. This is our sister.
So in a case like, for example, this Jacob's story, where he says he spent time with the father and so on and so forth, but he wants this more global acknowledgement. What's the thing there? Because if the father acknowledged him and would spend time with him, then you still want to be accepted elsewhere. The wife is the custodian of this, of you being accepted. So
now it's very tricky now because it's for the children to open up, and of course, if resources again become an issue, what does this person? You know, there is suspicion.
yes, if this person if they come in, it means that they imali tutagawa zaidi.
Exactly.
Yes, and that's an issue.
That is an issue.
An
now.
real issue,
It's
especially with a man like Kibaki.
Exactly. With a man like him.
We're not talking about
Exactly.
2 or 3 shillings.
This guy, because he was not introduced to them.
By the dad.
By the dad.
What to do.
What to do. Now that becomes now very tricky. But at least in Jacob's case, in just expressing it and making it public, I am the son of so and so, there'll be a level of satisfaction and emotional contentment. It's not me alone who knows it. It's not secret.
It's not a secret.
I know I am a Kibaki.
I'm not a child of shame.
I'm not a child of shame. So for Jacob, by just bringing it to the surface, and letting the public know I'm no longer so and so. I am a Kibaki. And whether they acknowledge me or not, me, I know. Yeah? Me, I know I am a Kibaki.
Yes.
And that one gives him a level
Of closure.
I've made it public. It's not a secret. Yeah? Even my children will know that Kibaki was their grandfather, paternal grandfather.
The root is there now.
The root now is there.
And for those whose fathers have denounced them, because in the comments for this, the video we're talking about, there are people who are saying, Ata heri huyu babake alisema you're my child, even if I was not taking photos of you dropping in school. There are those whose fathers have told them, I am not your father, you're not my child. And they have very deep wounds. What would you say to such people as we close
that one, I can only recommend. They go for therapy. Because the emotional pain is very deep.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It is there.
Yes.
The rejection.
Yes.
I was rejected by my father. I've met people. One is a man about 50 years. The father had just died. This is the biological father. They live together in a polygamous setup. And his struggle was the father had died before he told him why he did not love him the way he loved his sibling from the stepmother. Yeah? And I could feel his pain. All along he thought this one is loved more. These are the same in the same home.
They grew up together.
But found here, I think there was preference here. I think here. And all along, he even left home early. But he did well that the parents died in his home. But inside there was something. My father did not treat me like he treated the other one.
And it ate him through his life.
And it ate him. Now he's a man of 50s. Now,
still eating him.
Yes, the father has gone. All along he had hoped
that you'd be able to address it.
He would be able to address it.
But he never got to.
He never got to. And I'm sure the father would have been shocked to hear that. Because you don't know the dynamic. Children are different. And therefore you find sometimes the parent treating this one like this because they are different.
But then the child interprets
But the child now is watching and saying,
like, this one is loved more than me.
That was the interpretation. And it was hurting. Now I can imagine the pain of that who has been rejected. There are some who have gone to see their fathers and have told them, I have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear you. I don't want to see you.
Those are the ones who you have said go for therapy.
Therapy. There is healing in therapy.
Okay.
Where you can go and open your heart. Yeah? And a professional, especially Christian therapist, professional trained, they will help you deal with those emotions. A lot of things are inside us, innate. We cannot even identify, we cannot tell what drives us. But it's in our genetic makeup. All right? So I would recommend therapy for anyone who has gone through that pain. Yeah? Because therapy helps us to come to a closure. Right?
Okay.
And then we face the situation, we own it up, and we move on. Right? And there is no guilt now because I had no part in it. So therapy helps.
Okay.
Because these other people cannot help you. No. And the man is because of fear. Am I going to disrupt this family in order to gain this one? Yeah?
Yes.
You cannot lose this so as to gain that. We need an ideal situation where there is accommodation.
Okay.
But that one, it takes the grace of God, because women now also, the wives have that fear. My this open, already that tells me, now I start feeling there was another person. You see that psychological, yeah? The pride, I mean, I was the only one.
I thought I was the only one, there's somebody else.
So there was somebody else.
So already you're in battle mode.
You're in battle mode.
Yes.
And especially I said when the child is small, it's very difficult. Because the other woman will have to feature.
Yes. She's doing
to connect.
Yes.
So, and that's why we say, as much as not the ideal, when the child is in teenage, when they can go and you can point them to this, at least they will still bond, despite what he has lost in the early years.
They'll still know this is my root.
They still know this is my root.
Yeah.
I told you Obama found his root.
Yes.
There was an old, sorry, just closing. There was an old movie. It was a documentary called Roots. I think it was very small. I think it was in the late 77 or 78.
Yeah, I watched Roots as a child, yes. Yeah.
that was watched.
Alex Haley.
Yeah, they said it was watched for 8 nights in a row. Yeah, and watched by about 80 million Americans.
Okay.
Later, it was translated into 6 languages, and it triggered a search. People searching for their genealogy. Who are my people? Where did I come from? It triggered that in a big, big way. People saw it's possible to identify my roots. And
it's a booming business in the US now.
Right.
People want to find out, where am I from, the origin.
Why? There is a genetic hunger. There is a connection inside of us that I want to connect with my roots. Paternal. And that tells you, my paternal roots. And that tells you the father then, as we are saying, is a critical factor in shaping the next generation. Are we in agreement?
We are.
And that's why there is that craze. Who am I? It's not who my mother is. It's who is my father.
Who is my father?
Yeah, who fathered me?
Jacob was very specific and said that he's grateful to his father and everything he is because of his father.
Exactly.
But
there is a hunger which is genetic, which is deep down, emotional. Nobody can explain it.
For identity.
But there is a craving for identity with the father. Yeah? And so we can see why fatherhood is important.
It is.
That's only an extreme situation.
Yes.
But there are a lot of absent fathers. There are fathers who have abandoned it. And for the father, it's also very tricky. I have to make money, and I also have to be present. But balancing that is very, very important, but it's sometimes lacking. Being present, both physically and emotionally, and also making enough money.
Yeah.
The tendency is to lean towards money and lose the other side.
Yes. Because men value things.
They give us identity.
Women value ideas.
Yeah.
So a man feels more, when a man has a car, a house, a piece of land, you feel more connected than you do with, say, children.
So for the fathers who can do it, please connect with your children.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Allow them, open that door. For the wives, please open the door. For the sake of those hurting children. Open the doors. Yeah? And let them connect with the father. Yeah? That's my prayer. That for the wives, God will give them the grace to do it. Yeah? And for the fathers, the heart to do it.
Yes.
And I think what this has helped us to see the impact. The impact is someone hurting out there. And for those who cannot find connection, therapy, I would recommend it.
Okay.
And they must know that God loves them. Yeah? God loves them. They are not accidental. Things did not go the way they are supposed to go, but they still have a purpose. And they should pursue their purpose.
Okay.
And they should seek God to direct their lives.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Dad. That was an amazing first interview. The Jacob Ochola Mwai reaction video, KIKAO Africa. Thanks so much. See you on the next episode.